Small business owners, entrepreneurs, medium startups, and VCs, this one's for you. Welcome to Beyond the Bottom Line, Balancing Evolution with Execution, hosted by Elevate Talent Solutions founder and CEO, Ron Miller. Through Ron's own hard-won wisdom, along with an array of luminaries across the entrepreneurial ecosystem, you'll glean priceless wisdom that will help you see past the day-to-day grind and into the future where you can check off today's to-do list and achieve innovation and elevation to ensure your business is future-proofed. Fulfilling and profitable, it's time for Beyond the Bottom Line, balancing evolution with execution. Take it away, Ron.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Bottom Line, where we don't confuse motion with progress or marketing with just making things look pretty. So today we're going to crack open the messy truth about marketing, because somewhere along the way, I really believe businesses have forgotten that marketing isn't just ads, logos, and Instagram or influencer posts. It's what your people say about you when you're not in the room to defend it, right? It's how your job postings feel. It's what your employees actually think about working for you. And today I am joined by the one and only, you've seen her before, Adrianne Ruthhart, marketing strategist, truth teller, and the one who, being a mom of small two children herself, politely tells me when my ideas look like they were written in crayon. So that's not. Adrianne, welcome again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you jumping on. And this is the topic that really, this kind of came to me in an epiphany. I was talking to you about this offline about my last episode where I was talking about AI and recruiting strategies and dear hiring managers. It's not working. And one of my big points in that and misses was marketing. And I talked about the internal and external factor in that. And I think it's missed so wide right. It's like missed worse than a Scott Norwell kick in the Super Bowl, right? It is way right when we talk about it. But
Yep.
I really wanted to bring an expert on here to really kind of dig into this because, you know, I think of almost like the famous line from the Princess Bride, Inigo Montoya, marketing, right? Not marketing, but he just says, you keep using that word, but I do not think it means what you think it means, right? And
Yes.
and that's where I think marketing is. So I want to start off with kind of where I left that episode off about marketing starts internally, right? It's about internal communications. Are your employees clear on the mission? Are they living the brand? And are you living the brand and understand what the brand and the plan is? Because if they wouldn't recommend that business they work at to a friend, you're already losing, right? And those internal communications are as, if not more important than external.
Absolutely. Your employees are and should be your biggest advocate. I mean, you can, to your point, you can have all of what we tend to think about as marketing, right? You can have the logo and the brands and the colors, and you can have all of that. But if the people who are on the inside are not advocating for you, you have absolutely already lost. They are your biggest support. They are your biggest marketing tool. And with that, they could be your biggest hindrance. Because if they're saying not the same things, or worse, saying not good things, you've already lost. It doesn't matter what that recruiter is saying. If people have heard within the industry what it's actually like to work there, you're dead in the water.
Well, and not only that, I think it also goes with like where your business is driving that year. What are your goals? What tools are you bringing in? What things are you doing to grow revenue, grow opportunity within your company? And how are you communicating that internally? Because your people have to have that buy-in to that vision as well. And that's not like outside marketing, which, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I'm not in your business. I rely on you so heavily to take my crayon ideas and put them into actually a Picasso. You know, everyone always wants external communications. What gets us past the algorithm? What gets us noticed on social media? What gets this? What's our messaging? What's our that? And nobody is ever asking about internal communications. You know, and that has to look a lot different because it's not an influencer. The whole program's an influence.
Absolutely. you cannot approach how you're talking to your potential customer the same way that you're talking to your current employees or your potential employees, right? You can, if you're only focused on what you're saying outwardly and to get those customers in, what happens when you get those customers and then the employees aren't delivering on the message because they missed it or they're saying the same thing? You want those people that on day one, when you might have hired someone and they're there and, they're doing the whole obligatory, like giving you taking you on a tour and talking to employees. You don't want those employees being like, good luck. You don't want that, right? You want your messaging on the inside to just be so important. And to your point, it's not just about your product or service and how to sell that. That's absolutely important because you have to be saying the same things. But it's about what it's like to work there. And it's about what the environment is like and what the opportunities are and where you can grow and how you can grow. And what, especially as we talked about this whole RTO and this return to office, like what is it actually like to be an employee there is really important. And you have to have those communications, whether it's weekly emails from the CEO, it could be newsletters, it could be town halls, it could be the training programs and how you onboard people, right? From day one, when they're doing those training videos and they're learning what it's like to work there, that's your first step into showing them what that business is like and what their everyday is going to be like. And when we talk about working in a corporate environment and how many hours a day you spend there, you want them to really get a sense, and a positive sense, of what their day-to-day life is going to be like.
No, I couldn't agree more. A lot of companies have internal websites just for internal staff where you find your processes, your documents, announcements. It's a great marketing opportunity. Think about it from a recruiting perspective, like on a product launch, like, hey, we have this new AI tool that's coming. It's something that is going to scare the shit out of probably a lot of people sitting in seats because they're like, is this replacing me? No one's telling me it is.
My job.
Nobody's telling me it's not. So what am I supposed to take from that? And it's a missed opportunity of getting people to understand what the tool is, what their goal is with it, how it will make their life better. Will it affect some jobs? I'd rather have a company tell me honestly, yes, it's probably going to have a 4% reduction because some of the lower roles are going to, but here's our plan in order to resituate people, or just be honest up front and say, these roles may be eliminated. And over the next 6 months, we're going to work with individuals now to find different roles or to help them find the next opportunity.
For sure. If you say this role is going to change and or potentially be eliminated, but here are our growth opportunities. And instead of being scared of what's coming, embrace it, figure out how to use it in a positive way.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Honesty is so important. And yes, those intranets are extremely important. When someone logs in and they're looking at those training videos and they're looking at, how you organize your processes and procedures. If they don't feel like they can go someplace to get the answers and it looks good and it sounds right, and it's a great opportunity. That internal piece is absolutely just so important. And I think where a lot of companies could use assistance from people like us who can come in as a third party to say, the way that you're presenting yourself to your employees could use some work, and here's what we can do. And again, especially with what you offer on the training and development and operations side of it, to get all of that locked in so that when you're recruiting, not only are your recruiters out there pushing the same message and saying, I can't tell you how great it is to work here, and actually mean it. But then when the butt's in the seat on day one and you're logging in, that is just like really on point, really there. Those training videos are super on point. I think it's such a missed opportunity and a really, really great marketing tool for companies.
Yeah. Well, and here's a great segue to my next bullet topic point on this whole thing is, one of my favorite questions that I tell candidates to ask prospective employers, and I've asked many times when I was out looking, but simply, Hey, I noticed this is one of your core values. Can you give me an example of that in use in the last 6 months internally?
I
Most of the
love that.
most of the time you get just like this blank stare
They're
of
like, that's a core value.
you have a picture of a giant wall with it painted on your corporate office that you're sharing
Right,
with the
right. You have
world.
them
Like,
listed. Yeah.
do you have an example of that in motion in the last 6 months?
That's brilliant.
And I think that goes back to something on the recruiting side. And I say this not with a grain of salt, but I say it very pointedly. You do not have a hiring problem, you have a messaging problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, listen, whether you're posting a job or you're a proactive recruiter going out there and sourcing passive talent, which is what recruiters do to build a pipeline and database, anything that you're sharing, anything that you're posting, anything on your website is marketing, right? So recruiting and marketing have to work hand in hand. Marketing shouldn't run recruiting because marketing is not recruiting. It's an extension of it. But the job posting and the tools and messaging that you're using, that is marketing, right? And a rejection email is marketing because when you're telling someone that they're not qualified, they're not being chosen, there's a marketing opportunity there to help them and help you. But again, what story are you telling potential employees? And does it match your reality?
Right. No, that's absolutely true. All of that communication should be looked at as a form of marketing. They work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And I think that that's what companies don't realize. Those are opportunities. Maybe that person wasn't qualified for that job, but do you want them to potentially come back when you have a role that fits them? Yes. Or do you want them out into the marketplace as they're looking for other roles and talking to other people to be saying something negative about your company? Because you couldn't just take the time to make sure that that email was thoughtfully written, that went back to your messaging and your core values and what your company is like. All those little things matter, and they absolutely go hand in hand. And people don't think of it as marketing. And so they just allow or have the recruiters to do it themselves instead of working with someone to craft that message to make sure that it's putting the company in the best light, good or bad. If you're sending a positive message to say, we'd love to have you come back for another interview, or we'd love to work with you on this project on a contract basis, you want that positive email to say more than just like, yeah, you got the job. Give them a sense of what it's going to be like. All those are just small little opportunities that take minutes to get right.
Well, and so much time in marketing is spent on boilerplates, right? We all know what boilerplates are. We see them in job posts, but boilerplates are important because it gives you an opportunity to tell a company story. Now, I say it's completely wrong because the way the algorithms work and honestly, how candidates look for jobs, they could give a crap about XYZ widgets, right? What's the job? What are the perks and benefits? What am I going to be doing? How is it beneficial to me and to the company? And what are those core responsibilities that make me qualified, right? Tell me the story, put your boilerplate at the end. But that boilerplate, nobody ever thinks about how we could utilize that a different way in rejection emails.
Interesting.
Like, we have generic ones that some companies send to go out. Thanks for applying, but we've received a large amount of qualified applications. Unfortunately, you haven't met those qualifications. Keep checking our job board and bye-bye.
Right.
Then.
Check on the job board because no one's going to call you unless you come up through the AI tool, right?
Exactly. Okay, or better yet, the fact that there's nothing that goes out, and there are people every day that put out umpteen applications and you hear silence back, and it's missed opportunities because marketing's working in reverse at that point. Because if you don't think people don't remember your company and the fact that they've applied to 5 different roles and never heard a word from you, I'm going to tell you, when this market flips, you're effed. I'm just being very blunt. You're screwed.
You're absolutely. It could take 2 seconds, and it could be automated. You can automate, you can come up with good, solid boilerplate messaging. You can use an AI tool that automates it. I mean, I'm always for a handcrafted message that really spoke to, especially from the recruiting standpoint. When I was looking, I always thought it was beneficial to hear, not only did you not get this role, but here's why. It really does take 1 minute to sit down and say, thank you so much for your time applying. This wasn't the right fit for you. Here's where we think that maybe if you improve on this, or if you gain this particular experience, maybe it was not a great interview and you could give them a couple of tips. That always goes, far. And I know that that's not what recruiters want to hear. I know that they don't want to spend that time because they're trying to hit those numbers, right? They're trying to fill those roles. But those extra few seconds not only mean a lot to that person, and I think that it's just a kind thing to do, but that absolutely puts your company in a positive light to say, you know what? I didn't get the dream job I really wanted, but they took 30 seconds to give me a couple of tips or feedback on why I wasn't the right fit. That can go so far in putting your company in a positive light, you have no idea. That said, if you don't have that 30 seconds, you can automate it, but think about that messaging. Think about how it's going to be different instead of just like, sorry, you didn't get it. Especially if you're recruiting in a particular type of business, just so it doesn't feel like ChatGPT wrote your breakup email and that's it. And that's the end of the day.
You got broken up with on a Post-it.
You stamp it to your forehead. But you're right. Boilerplate and that type of marketing is tricky, but when done right the first time, you can automate it. You can simplify it. And you can give your recruiters, a good fighting chance while they're out there trying to bring people into your role and not have people on the outside negatively impacting what they're trying to do, which is sell your business.
Yeah. Well, and when those things aren't aligned, you always see those gaps, right? And for me, it's almost like, and I don't know if this is the right analogy, but I'm going to try and use it anyways. It's like speaking Spanish, right? Recruiting and marketing are both speaking Spanish, but like recruiting is from Spain and marketing is from Brazil. And some words mean the same, but there's different tones, different dialects. Some words mean something different. In essence, of the same language. You can speak Spanish very fluently and understand a lot of Italian and vice versa, right? There's a lot of similarities in there, but it's not the same language until you understand the nuances. And that's where I think recruiting and marketing are always at a logjam. I saw this firsthand, in a bunch of places I've been. Well, I don't say a bunch of places that haven't had like 80 jobs in my life, but in two of the last places I was, especially one of the last places I always felt like I was at a loggerhead with marketing, that they were taking what I was saying extremely personal because they wanted to drive. I wanted them to drive, but I also wanted them to understand I lead recruiting. I need your help. I need your support, but you can't dictate what recruiting can and can't do. You need to help us make the messaging clear and better. And then let's create marketing around that. And that was something that we just couldn't overcome. And for me, that's a leadership issue of this is what I'm saying, and this is a directive, and that's it. And there's that gap. We're both speaking Spanish. Okay. You're just not understanding what I'm saying, or you're refusing to, right? And that's a huge loss in companies. But I think that's where businesses like ours, and especially yours, where you have that third party coming in that can do that assessment and looking at your branding voice across recruitment and onboarding and sales and ops. Can you get them all that are speaking Spanish to understand the same words in 4 different dialects?
Yeah, it's tricky. And I think part of that just goes back to marketing in a corporate environment in general. And I'll just speak just generally speaking, marketing is the first thing to go, right? When times get tough, people think marketing is like just you don't really need it. Anybody can be a marketer, anybody can do it. And so I feel like marketers have this sort of like, I don't know, like a fight or flight sort of mentality. Like we're going to prove our worth. We're going to prove why this is necessary. We're going to prove that like we have to make sure that all of this messaging is exactly the same across all formats. To your point, it is different. Every single department needs to work with marketing to figure out a way to say the same thing differently, to say the same thing that is going to resonate with that department and who those people are going to be speaking to, whether it's recruitment, whether it's the legal team, whether it's accounting, whether it's your sales team. We all need to be saying the same things, but I think that's a really valid point in that we've sort of been conditioned to be these gatekeepers of messaging and these brand extensions and how it has to say and look exactly the same. And I think that just corporate marketers need to take a step back to say it can be the same and different. You can, like, two things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
You can still be saying the same thing while not saying the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But I think that we've just become conditioned to make sure that every single word and every single mark and every single color and everything is just exactly the same, that we don't understand the importance of taking that messaging and crafting it to a different type
I think
potential employee.
a lot of companies are playing Roblox with their marketing while everyone, the companies that get it are doing it with Pixar.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that just comes down to, one, leadership and having the right leaders in there. You could be the most fantastic marketer in the world. Maybe you came up with the king for Burger King. Awesome. That doesn't mean that that you're a great leader. You just had a great idea.
So true.
And sometimes those folks just aren't meant to be the leading marketers. They should be the leader of the think tank, right? But your leaders need to be aligned. And I think one of the first things that goes wrong is marketing's always put into a corner and they're brought in too late. So now they're working from behind. Number two, because they're working from behind and they're 80 feet into the weeds, they can't see it. So now everything has to be standardized. And looking at it that way on this side of the glass, at this stage of my career, has made me realize the value, the true value and missed opportunities companies have with not keeping a marketing contractor on retainer. Because this is somebody that is not emotionally connected.
I agree.
I'm saying that just because of Adrianne. I'm saying this truthfully because, like, Adrianne, for example, is not emotionally connected to your business. Adrianne does all my marketing. She is not emotionally connected to my business. So she will be frank with me when I say, here is my Crayola crayon idea. It's all here and it looks exciting to me and I see it. And her job is to tell me either it's bullshit, it's workable, or the direction we need to go. And she does that and goes to sleep afterwards because it is no skin off of her ass, no matter what I think, because she's giving me what is going to work based on my idea. And that's a hard truth sometimes to swallow. For me, not so much, because I know I'm not a marketer.
Yeah.
So whatever Adrianne tells me is like Bible to me. Adrianne 360 is, do not do that, Ron. We are going to do this. That's how marketing works. And I think companies need that, whether it's 4 hours a month or 10 hours a month or 1 hour a month or 30 hours in a quarter. You always have things going on that you need someone not emotionally connected that they can sit down with and say, hey, Adrianne, here's our initiatives. This is what we have. Can you digest this and give us your thoughts?
Yeah. And I just think that marketing should always have a seat at every table. And I don't say this selfishly. I say this because it's true. From every recruitment meeting, as you're starting an initiative, they just should always have a seat at the table because everything comes back to marketing. Everything comes back to how you present yourself to whomever you're getting ready to talk to, whether that's internally, whether you're a B2B company and talking to other companies, whether you're talking straight to consumers. All of that is marketing. And if you don't have marketing at the table, you are at a disadvantage and you're not putting your best self forward. And I just say that, I will shout it from the rooftops. It is important. Marketing should not be the first thing to go. And you need a true, strong marketer's voice at every table.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll end this on this quote, right? And I'm going to be cheesy here because I just feel like being
I love
cheesy.
cheesy, Ron.
I just feel like being cheesy this morning, right? It's like a movie, A Few Good Men here. We'll close it out with this, with Kathy like, "Hey, Jessup, did you order the code red?" Right? Well, it's because you don't want the help because you can't handle the truth. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. And that's kind of how I feel from a recruiting perspective, a training perspective, a marketing perspective. You don't know it, but you need us on that wall. You die for us to be on that wall because we are guarding that wall for your protection. But here's the truth. Anyway, hey, your company is being marketed every day by your employees, by your candidates, and by your silence. If your internal culture is a mess, no campaign can fix it, right? And if your external message is fake, your retention report will call you out by, I don't know, Q3. So thanks for joining us. Adrianne, thank you again for being on.
Thanks
I
for
love
having me.
having you. You edit, you take care of my marketing, you produce my podcast, you do everything. So Adrianne is a recurring guest and always behind the scenes. So, and remember to check out her business at acrventures.com. So see you next time where we keep it bold, keep it honest, and keep it way past the buzzwords.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Bottom Line. Do you have questions for Ron or today's guest about this episode? Reach out and your question might be featured on next week's mailbag. You can learn more about Ron and Elevate Talent Solutions at elevate-talent-solutions.com or on LinkedIn. This podcast was edited and produced in partnership with Adrianne Ruthhart, principal of boutique marketing firm ACR Ventures. Check her out at acrventures.com for all your small business marketing needs. Be sure to hit that follow button and send us love letters and episode ideas to Ron Miller at elevatetalentsolutions.net. Tune in next week, and thanks for listening.